G'day, Steelers Nation. Welcome back to Steel Curtain Network and also welcome back to Steelers Nation Australia. I have a special guest today, and my good mate here, Tom, is from Ireland, I believe Dublin. And how are you doing today, Tom? A Steelers fan all the way over there across the pond. How are you?
Good to chat to you, Mark. Yeah, it's Sunday night here in Dublin, but we've had a great week and a great 2 weeks of great news between the Steelers game coming to Dublin, and then lo and behold, last week selected as the International Fan of the Year to represent the Steelers at the upcoming NFL draft in Green Bay. So yeah, hell of a 2 weeks, and
Yeah.
great news about Melbourne in 26. Great memories of Melbourne. What a sports capital. Formula One, Aussie rules, rugby league, rugby union, tennis, you name it. Super city. So the NFL are expanding very, very well. And in Melbourne, fantastic. Love to be there in 2026.
That's why I brought you on today, Tom, onto Steel Nation Australia and also Steel Curtain Network. Part of a lot of podcasts here. There's millions of podcasts from Bad, from the Scobro Show. Everyone's out there, but I brought you on because you did in fact win Steelers International Fan of the Year. How does that feel? Like, that's pretty freaking awesome. Like, were you surprised, shocked? How's that feel?
I was totally in shock. You may have seen the clip. The Steelers
Yeah.
Ireland people had me prepped to do a piece on the 1997 preseason game here. That was the
Hmm.
setup when the Steelers hosted the Bears here in Dublin. But it was a preseason game. I live right beside UCD. We went in and we saw the scrimmages. One team played against the other. And, then there was my local rugby club, Wanderers Rugby Club, that Andy Slack and a few other Wallabies were affiliated with. They were the host of the NFL Experience, where they do all the drills and with
Hmm.
softballs for the kids and the adults and stuff like that, just to see how they work out with passing drills, catching drills, kicking drills, etc. But it's all fun, and so that was the setup. And then Stephanie Roach, a former Irish soccer player, she fronted with two cameras. And the next thing, Dan Rooney III, the head of business development with the Steelers, uh, gave me the message that I'd been selected as International Fan of the Year for the Steelers. And I bit my lip because one, I didn't expect anything like that. And two, it's only the second year of the International Fan of the Year. They've had
Hmm.
Fan of the Year for a couple of years. And those fans of the year from each of the 32 clubs go to the Super Bowl. The International Fan of the Year goes to the NFL Draft, which this year is in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Next year
Hmm.
is actually in Pittsburgh, but this year's
Hmm.
in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I think you get to the podium on the third day and you announce a pick from the podium on behalf of Steeler Nation. So absolutely chuffed. I had coincidentally worked with Dan's grandfather, Dan Rooney, on the development of the Ireland funds. There's one in Australia, one in New Zealand, and one in 7 other countries, primarily in America. And that used to, and still does, raise money for the Ireland funds to promote peace, culture, and charity on this island. We've had troubled times, particularly in the 60s and 70s and 80s here.
Hmm.
And they raised millions of dollars, over $500 million, to put both Catholic and Protestant communities together, take them out of their relevant neighborhoods into the States and other places, to realize once you start talking to people, actually the differences start to dissolve. So for me to get that call from Dan Rooney III, having worked with his granddad on that, was I bit my lip pretty hard, but that's just because hey, I'm 63, you're not even 36 yet, but I've been following these guys for a long time. I was a rugby player. I played 10 and 15, so kind of quarterback, running back in rugby union, and our university team went to Florida in '79, and on that team, a couple of us picked up American footballs on tour, started watching the games on TV. And when we got back to Dublin, there was very little material here to actually follow up on that fandom because
Yep.
there was no television, there was no magazines. Some of them occasionally came into the UK, first down, touchdown, quarterback, and Gridiron. And they came into the local newsagents in Dublin City, but not on a regular basis. So I used to buy the NFL VHS tapes, which were quite chunky, and
Hmm.
they were in the post every 3 weeks. They were more like a compilation highlight tapes, but you got an idea of what was going on. And then when I left college, I moved into high school teaching and coaching rugby. But I also said before I hung up the boots, I wanted to play American football or Gaelic football. So I joined the local team of American football's team called the Dublin Celts, and they were run more or less through a guy called Tom in the American Embassy, who was deputy chief of mission. That's number 2 to the ambassador. So he was the coach. But thankfully, we had about 4 or 5 of the US Marines that were stationed in Dublin on the team, and they could explain, all the gaps, the holes, the blocks, where you put your hands, the swim move, all these kind of intricacies. So as a 10 or 15, I just loved soaking up all this information and then just looking at the scientific algorithms as to, obviously in rugby union and rugby league, you can't pass the ball forward. But in American football, part of the dynamic is that, hey, you can pass it forward. And if you have the right play and a couple of deceptive plays, all that other stuff going on, I just loved it, and I still do. I just know what's going on. And you might see, I watch a lot of union, some league, state of origin, etc. But the intricacies of where to put a man in space with a ball, how to score the touchdown or the try, and I think rugby has learned a lot from the NFL. The scoring values when I was playing in school, it was 3 points for a try and 3 points for a penalty, a field goal, and now it's obviously 5 points for a try. Still 3 for a field goal and 2 points for the conversion. So the value of the try went up by 2 points because it means more to cross the line and touch the ball down than it does
100%.
to goals. And and now there's a shot clock on all the international games, so there's no delay of games and stuff like that. So all the sports are looking for each other because at the end of the day, it's entertainment. The game was 97 in Dublin. I left high school teaching to move into the public relations sector in 87. So 10 years later, the Steelers came over, and then 2 years after that, I started working with Leinster. The rugby union game had only gone professional, and I had absorbed everything that the Steelers brought to Dublin, like big screens for replays and cheerleaders and coin tosses, and just making it a Friday. In our case,
it's meant to be fun, right? Meant to be
Friday night, and you could have a parent and child ticket. So if both parents couldn't go, the ticket was split between mom and dad and junior, or if the families weren't together anymore, then you could also, bring somebody along on a Friday night. So it went from 1,200 to 4,000, and now the Leinster rugby team in Dublin would have 20,000 season ticket holders in the Aviva Stadium, which would it just shows you the advent of professional sports, and people go along. They want to buy merchandise. They want to have a stadium event. So at the top of the tree is television, and then it's stadium spend, and then it's your scarves, your tinnies at the match, whatever else goes on. So fascinating to
remember. Tom, we have an American audience. Tinnies. What are tinnies? Is that
tinnies
beverages?
are in Australia, or your beers with your schooners and all those translated things. I was trying to accommodate your Australian audience, but if we're talking to Pittsburgh, there's pints and half pints and liters and half liters. But so you've been to Pittsburgh on your Mecca. You've seen what 100%. A lovely city it is. It's a bit like Dublin. It's not too big. It's not too small. It's very welcoming. And again, from the Steelers' history, they were probably one of the most progressive sports organizations to take on board equality and inclusivity before there was even DEI even thought about. So from an Irish point of view, or Mexican or overseas fans, I think that's why they are so popular globally, because nobody's excluded. There's no ranking order. Everybody's welcome, and it's always been that way. And that's why I'm just so delighted that I've been to Pittsburgh like you. I have family there in not too far from Coach Tomlin's house, I believe. And my school, St. Michael's College, would have a relationship with Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, because they're both run by the same priests. And that's where Dan Rooney did his accountancy. So you keep running over coincidences. But it's gone blank here, Mark. I can't hear you for about 30
seconds. Sorry, Tom. Sorry about that, mate. We might keep that in. I'll come back and edit later. My laptop legit just turned off. So for the audience out there, okay. I had my power was dwindling down, and I'm that silly that the it was in the socket, but it was halfway in powering my laptop. So I'll go
Gotcha.
back and review. I'll go back and review the tape like they are doing now with all these flags. So yeah, thank you, Tom, for that. But I do want to go back to how you got that. The message of, by the way, you're trying to sell the game, the Dublin game coming up next year in 2025, or this year in 2025,
Next
around
season.
September.
Next season.
Yeah,
This. Yeah.
yeah, and then you're sitting there, and so you had absolutely zero idea you were chosen to be NFL fan of the. I just want to give you a big congrats to that, because I've been applying for myself for last year and the year before. Spreading awareness and community like stuff on the Steelers, and I think to be chosen as that is quite freaking awesome. Like, just sitting there, like you were just like dead set talking about the preseason game, and you had no idea. Now that you're going to go towards like you'll be on stage. You'll be on stage calling out a draft pick, one of our maybe future Hall of Famers. You never know in day 3. It could be anyone. You could be calling out a receiver, a running back, or maybe a defensive back, cornerback, D lineman. We don't know. You're going to go up and you're going to Green Bay. Have you like sorted all your plans out for Green Bay? Do you know how it's going to work or what you're doing?
Well, to some extent, yeah. I mean, to be fair, the Steelers were right on the ball as soon as I think I was ambushed on the Wednesday, and the announcement went out last Monday, Irish time about 2:30. So that would have been late Monday night, your time, going into Tuesday. And since then, the Steelers organization have been on about flights, all those logistical arrangements, and so and obviously there's. As you know, social media and content. So I'm going to stop in Pittsburgh for a day on the way to Green Bay and do some filming at the stadium and maybe the training facility and around the downtown, with a view to building up interest for Pittsburgh 2026. And obviously the Dublin game and in the autumn, sometime September, October here in Dublin. And but when I get on podium, I'm representing you, I'm representing Mexico, I'm representing everybody, because it's a huge honor. But I am representing the international fan, and we are all international fans that aren't lucky enough to live in the Burg or live in the States. And so I'm it's going to be it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
It's going to be fun, man. I'm excited for you. When I saw the video on Steelers.com, I was like, I don't know Tom from Bar So, but I'm going to reach out and get him on the podcast. And you responded within, I think, in 35 seconds and said, yep, I'll be there. I'm coming on. I want to talk about my Steelers. And now, Tom, I do want to ask you, because I have no idea, and a lot of the audience out there too as well, how did you become a Steelers fan? Like, where did it all start for a guy in Dublin? Where did your Steelers journey start, and why did you become a Steelers fan?
All right, I don't know how much time you got, but my maternal grandparents, like a lot of Irish, either emigrated to Australia or Canada or America. My maternal grandparents emigrated to the Philadelphia area. Were married in Villanova University on the 28th of June, 1933, which is about 10 days before the Steelers organization came into fruition, then called the Pirates, for about 6-7 years. So 1933, my maternal grandparents were there. Lo and behold, on their honeymoon, my grandfather says to my grandmother, let's go back to Ireland on honeymoon. And then when he was here, he said, I've just bought a farm in County Monaghan, which would be a small rural area in county in Ireland. So they came back to Ireland and stayed. But my other grand aunts, grand uncles all stayed in the Philadelphia area. Some moved to Pittsburgh. So there's a family connection with South Jersey around the Cherry Hill area, not too far from the Eagle Stadium. It's only 30 minutes from the Eagle Stadium. And then some of their offspring went into the Pittsburgh area. So that was family number one. School number two, St. Michael's, where I went to school, where Keith Gleason went to school, the former Leinster player that went to St. Joey's in Sydney for a while and then came back as an Irish rugby international. They are run by the Holy Ghost or Spirit and Fathers, and that's the same people who run Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, where lo and behold, Dan Rooney, the grandfather, went to learn his accountancy. So Duquesne University is on the way up Forbes Avenue to Squirrel Hill, big campus there, and a lot of the priests and teachers in St. Michael's would have gone there on sabbaticals and things. And of course, 75 and 76 were the first two Super Bowls for the Steelers. I left school or high school in 78, so the priests were coming back with stories of Pittsburgh being the world champions, right, all that type of stuff. So Pittsburgh was in my head, like others would have had maybe New York or Boston, but Pittsburgh was always there between the family and then obviously in school. And then lo and behold, we would go to university in UCD up the road. and we go on a tour to Florida in '79, and the Steelers again have just won the Super Bowl in '79, and the next few months, obviously, they're en route to winning Super Bowl #4 in 1980 over the Rams. So it's always been the Steelers type thing, and then, as I say, moving through work and career wise, I happened to play rugby, then played a bit of football with the American football with the Dublin Celts as a backup tight end.
There you
Because
go.
Yeah, but because I had access, I think, to the high school fields in St. Michael's, I might have been on the bench a bit longer than than I should have been. But it was great because you got to find out. I mean, in rugby, Union Rugby League, you pretty much know when you're going to be hit. What I found in American football, there are times as a tight end, you say you run a slant or something like that, and you can get clocked, and you haven't a clue what's coming, And
Yeah.
it reminds me of the hit Stephon Tuitt, an ex Notre Dame and Pittsburgh Steeler, put on a Cleveland Brown a few years ago, and he just murdered him because he hadn't a clue what was coming from behind.
I was going to say, you can do it the other way as well. If you're the tight end, you can lay punishment.
Yeah.
Like we saw Vance McDonald that one year run over someone, So, you said you played a bit of tight end. Was that enjoyable? Like, was that different to rugby?
It was enjoyable. I know it was enjoyable. It was always enjoyable going forward, and even the blocks, again, learning about the game and where the gaps are and trying to put your running back into holes and do a deceptive play so a wide receiver up above might be able to pick up a ball, 10, 15 yards or much further. But again, Irish American football back in those days wasn't as structured as it is now. We have about 20 kitted teams here. The season started yesterday, and I went next door to UCD again, where they beat the Rebels quite comfortably this time, 40 points to 0. So there was a shutout. But again, very good crowd compared to a few years ago. Very well organized teams, and it was good to be there. So
There's there's good gridiron roots now here in Australia. We have an academy as well up in Queensland that does, there's punting, there's linebackers, there's guys trying to be, there's, Jordan Mailata. He's a famous rugby player now, American football player. So there's quite a few routes now that players can go down that direction, in Ireland or Australia or Germany or England. So, and the pathways
NFL
now.
doing great work identifying these players abroad. We've two kickers in the NFL area with Charlie Smith in the Saints and Judah Tamney in the Giants. But obviously Australia, again, like Ireland, with the kicking, maybe from AFL and Gaelic football or Irish football, the punters have always been, or kickers, because in rugby union and rugby league, it mightn't always take the conversion from in front of the sticks. You could be on the touchline, so to kick it in front of the sticks, they say, yeah, no problem. But when you've got 1.6 seconds and you're kicking, you start your run up and there isn't even a ball there, it takes a bit of getting used to. But I mean, look, Michael Dixon, all these guys that have come from Australia, the Seahawks, and all these players, Jordan Berry over the years, Cam Johnson, great to see him back running at the UPMC facility in Pittsburgh. Yep. I think he posted a clip yesterday or the day before. It's just great to see all these international athletes now making their impression in the NFL, and the NFL are very welcoming on that, and obviously they want to expand the global market for the game. It's widely appreciated. Lots of fans abroad like you and I, and we just have a voracious appetite for the stuff. So bring it on. But as you say, we don't have many offensive linemen or defensive linemen that you have, like Jordan Mailata or some of the other big boys that you've had over the years. So fingers crossed we get some of those players. But Welsh Rugby Union winger. He's gone in. So you just don't know where the players are going to come from.
It's interesting because we had Jordan Mailata. He was kind of told by a few NRL voices here saying that he can't play, NFL. There's no point going over, and all those kind of things. You're wasting your time, yada yada yada. And then he ends up signing one of the biggest deals for the Eagles of like $70 million, and now he's a Super Bowl champion.
100 for 3 years. Yeah, superb. Superb.
So
where's he with the Rabbitohs or something like?
The Rabbits. I can't stand them. If anyone out there does follow the NRL, I do follow the Manly Seagulls, but we hate. By the way, we hate you too because we embrace the hate because the Manly Seagulls are one of the most hated teams in the National Rugby League. And just one big difference too for my American audience, and we're almost going to go to a break. The rugby and rugby league is different. I just need to say that.
Yeah, yeah.
The NRL goes over to Las Vegas this weekend, and the countless times an American announcers call it rugby, it does my head in.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
rugby league, and rugby is different. There's two codes.
League is a bit more like I find the NFL, because there's less players in the park. 15 in union, 13 in league, so they're a little bit more close, and they have 6 plays or you're out. Where if you
Correct.
or in this, and obviously NFL or American football is 4 downs and out. So there's a lot of more similarities between league and NFL than there are league or
Yeah, I just
NFL
think that I
union.
just think that some people should do their homework. If you're an announcer and they're coming to your stadium in Las Vegas, you need to call them rugby league players and not rugby players. But
Yeah,
with that being said, Tom, we are going to take a quick break here on
sure.
Steel Curtain Network. Thank you for your time, Tom. On the other side of this break, we are going to learn more about Tom is fandom, and also what Tom here from the 2024 International Steelers Fan of the Year, what he thinks about the Steelers' upcoming season. So just give me a quick break for a few moments' time, and we will be right back. Alrighty, Steel Nation, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to G'day Steelers Nation. I think I titled this show, Tom, an Irishman, an Australian walk into a Steelers bar. Well, you must get those jokes a lot, right? The Irishman, the
Yeah,
Scottishman, and the Australian. But
yeah.
I thought I'll title it an
The
Irishman,
Irishman will
an
say,
Aussie.
the Irishman will say, "What are you having?" The Australian will wait to be asked.
You know what? I tried my very first. I've never had Guinness before in my life, and I tried my very first Guinness 2 weeks back. And of course, I need to have it in Ireland and Dublin for sure. And I was like, okay, it's quite nice. Do you drink Guinness yourself?
I do, yes. That would be
Yeah.
my number one pint, yeah. And then we have a number of little whiskies and stuff and nightcaps like that go down well. Can't get Bundaberg here anymore. We used to get that for the rum and coke, which is synonymous with some of the stadiums I've been in Australia. I'm lucky to be in Australia back for Lions tours and rugby union and the Rugby Union World Cup and stuff. Yeah, the Bundy and Coke went down very well, but yeah, here you've got beautiful Guinness. Probably the best place to drink it is in Dublin, and hopefully we'll see you here this autumn to
100%. Yeah, I'm
to
trying to work my way there, even though we haven't got a date just yet. But I will find somewhere. If I have to stay on the outside, and because I think the hotels will be skyrocketing through for Dublin. If I've got to stay, half an hour away, I will. I got to figure out a way. Got to find some flights. I'm definitely getting there. But yeah, I enjoyed my first. Not even I didn't have a pint. I had a bit of a sip, and I was like, it's not too bad. It's a bit different to my, I guess, beer tasting, and it tastes a bit like coffee, right? It's a bit like, you know what I mean? It's a bit like a
its origins was porter, so it's a darker beer. So you've got to
yeah.
get from the lager, with like a Castle Lager or 4X or some of those Castle Maine, to into a Guinness, which is quite different. But
Yeah.
any Australian that came here, they just loved it. So I can't see you.
No, I won't knock back a free one. You know what I'm saying? If there's a free one next to my in my hand, and even one after that as well, I wouldn't knock it back. But I do want to find out more about your story, Tom, because you are the Steelers 2004 International Fan of the Year. I think it's fantastic. But I want to find out, like, who's your favorite player of all time?
Steelers player.
Steelers player.
I would have probably followed Ben Roethlisberger. Coincidentally,
Mm-hmm.
his birthday here in Ireland yesterday with you, but 43 now. And yeah, he would have been my quarterback. Why? Because great arm. His pump fakes were unbelievable. The way he could
Mm-hmm.
scramble out of the pocket, roll left, roll right, and still make the connection to Heinz Ward, who whoever was there. And
Heinz,
then
great.
he could actually run. He wasn't afraid to not take a slide. He would, he would hammer for the last yard to get the first down. So I would say Ben Roethlisberger, and I can send you some pics. Most that the other part of the house has got Ben stuff in it, and my last trip to Pittsburgh was Ben's last ride on the Monday night when he beat the Browns.
You were there? You saw the Browns game?
Yeah, I was there.
That's pretty cool.
I was there to take his last knee. Yeah, so
Wow.
he was amazing. We were up in the stand on the west stand, with the same side as the Steelers, and yeah, it was just to be there was just yeah. Thanks, Ben. And it was thanks, Ben. Obviously, there was a shot at a playoff, but that didn't work out. But yeah, he would be the one. Obviously, Franco Harris, Jerome Bettis. We have a very strong Irish connection with Notre Dame. So Jerome Bettis would have been super. He was here in '97, scored a touchdown in the preseason game in Croke Park. So to see him in the flesh, like 5 yards away in UCD.
So you went to that game as well. You were in the 1997 preseason game. You were there as well.
That was July 27, 1997. But the week before it, when the lads touched down on the Tuesday, they were over my back wall in the university doing scrimmages against the Bears. Because it was free season, it was a friendly type of scrimmage. There was no full contact. So they've been working against each other during the week. And as I said, in the first part of the program, I'd worked with Dan Rooney in the Ireland funds, and the second partner of that was a guy called Tony O'Reilly, who was a superstar rugby union player, who then in his career was a great marketeer, headed up Heinz UK, and then became chairman and CEO of Heinz USA, the global Heinz. So he went to Pittsburgh, so did Dan Rooney. They set up the Ireland funds to raise money for bona fide projects back in Ireland, non-violent, no guns, no terrorism, just putting communities together, just saying, let's talk this out. And they've been doing that for so long.
When, Tom, when do you get a break, mate? You're very busy.
Yeah, but I mean, it's beginning to get a little bit easier because now, as I say, I'm now 63 and I can enjoy my two major loves would be the Steelers and, as you see over my shoulder, Bruce Springsteen. So I've been tracking him since the 70s as well. Again, in the 70s, there was very little information about the music coming from New Jersey in that area. Lo and behold, the cousins are there. I can get a page from the New York Post or a page from the Post Gazette out of Pittsburgh. Now I subscribe to the Post Gazette. I recommend your subscribers do it too. It's diddly squat, and you get all the writing for, I mean, it's the city of champions, but we haven't had champions for a few years with either the Steelers or the Pirates.
We're going to talk about
beaten in overtime, and you go, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, I saw that today as well. So they just lost against
great sporting city, great backdrops. As you know, the Steelers Stadium backs onto Point Park across the river. The PPG Arena for the ice hockey is only 10 or 11,000. When it hops, it really does get hopping.
I agree.
The baseball stadium, again, haven't been there yet, but again, the backdrop is the towers, etc. of Pittsburgh City. So super sporting city, no basketball franchise, and the universities all do well. Obviously, University of Pitt share the facilities with the Steelers, and they come here, and actually in 2027 they're playing Wisconsin in the college game.
Oh wow, they're going to Dublin as well.
They're going to Dublin as well.
Oh wow, so it's like a joint kind of thing. Okay, that's cool.
An annual college game here, for the last number of years. Last year, Georgia Tech and Boston College played. The year before was Notre Dame and Navy. Next year could be Notre Dame again. We don't know yet. 2027, Pitt and Wisconsin. 2025 is Iowa State and K-State. All in August, which is again building up. It's week 0 in the college system. So again, they might kick off here at 4 or 5 p.m. in the afternoon, which is midday back home, and the TV channels are hopping. And the whole city of Dublin, it just turns into a college city for the week. It's brilliant, absolutely.
I was going to say, Tom, what is the atmosphere like in Croke Park? There's about 80,000 fans, right? What's the atmosphere going to be like for Steelers fans, do you think?
I think it's going to be unbelievable. That's one area of the stadium is the old terrace standing, but that will be limited while the NFL game is on. So they estimate the crowd to be 76,000. So wow. Because of the visibility, the sight lines and cameras and stuff like that. So that even in soccer stadiums during Champions League games, they usually cut off the first 10, 12 rows just to make sure that everybody's behaving themselves in certain parts of the stadium. So 76,000 fans in Dublin that week would be fantastic. And obviously the opposition is going to bring whatever they bring to it. And there's the tailgates and the meetups. And I think there will be some team meetups as well. But in this case, with a regular season game, there's a lot more at stake. There's points on offer. So I can't see the starting roster meeting too many fans or playing golf during the week or drinking Guinness. But I mean, alumni players come here to Dublin. Santonio Holmes, Alan Finecca, James Farrier, Fast Willie Parker, they've all been here doing clinics. And just to even see those guys, because they were the guys I would have seen, doing the Super Bowls, Santonio Holmes, the toe tap at the end of the end zone.
Unbelievable catch.
Unbelievable. and to see him there, and a great guy. And as you probably know, most of the players and most of the celebrities, they're all pretty good when you get to meet them face to face. So yeah, we're looking forward to alumni players, maybe practice squad players. There could be some, God forbid, injured reserves, that can't play. Might do some media work and some community relations and things like that. So yeah, we're going to look forward to a super week in Dublin.
My goal is to walk past Mike Tomlin. I can't swear on this program, but that one time when he walked out through the stadium, and Mike Tomlin walks past me and goes, "Man, I'm effing working." I want to be that guy. I want him to put me on a show like that, because I thought that was hilarious when he did that. But I do want to transition in the last few moments of this podcast. It's been fantastic. So thank you for listening to Steel Curtain Network and also Steel Nation Australia. Well, let's talk about our current Steelers, and let's start at the top. Do you think that the Rooneys and Art Rooney II is doing a good enough job at the moment constructing his team? I know it's a hard question to answer, but do you think what do you think about that?
Well, I think I mentioned to you previously, there's stuff that goes on in the room and outside the room. I think that the organization knows, and things that go out, that we that aren't in the inside know about. They obviously, the Rooneys have been the owners since 1933 and set up the franchise. And I think 99% of the people were very happy with the way they've progressed the organization over the years. Obviously, if there's a shortfall in the playoffs, people are going to start giving out. But I mean, a lot of these people are fans like you and me that aren't in the setup. Some of them have never played the game. Some of them just read, and they're reading people who have never played the game. So you're going further and further outside from the circle. So if you're in the circle, then I think that's what's thing. Now, as you say, that in your last show last week, it was there's talk about having to improve the players' facilities or the family rooms and things like that, and that I'm sure will all be taken on board, because I think they're the reason that I certainly support them is that they are so inclusive and diverse, and they're welcoming to everybody. So I think it's something that I think you said yourself, it's an old stadium. It may have to be tweaked. We may have to look at changing the layout or the setup or something like that. But they're all details. The main thing is
exactly.
Omar Khan at the Indianapolis, which finished today, and all these things, looking at the squad for next year. I think the squad is probably 75-80% complete, maybe. But then things come in like draft and free agency and Senior Bowl and Combine and swaps for draft picks. Even the pick I might be doing maybe swapped for something else. Who knows? And if it is for a great wideout or something like that, happy days. So we're not party to any of that. So I really can only comment like your good self as an avid fan, but not party to the inside information. And I think we should observe that and respect that, and leave it to Coach Comlin and Omar Khan and people who the scouting organization. And if people aren't working out, I mean, offensive coordinators have been changed. Quarterback room was totally changed this time last year. I wouldn't panic as that there's no quarterback in situ yet. We're not playing till the end of August.
We're not playing till September. Thank you, Tommy. You sound like a voice of reason.
Preseason. So they will get it will all roll out, but it ain't going to happen just because one fan organization or something like that has a movement on and they get 4,000 hits. I'm sorry, that doesn't make any difference. You're talking.
No, it doesn't make zero difference.
It's multi-million-dollar contracts for X amount of years, and it's the overall shape of the organization for the next couple of years. But I think they've realized they have to go further in the playoffs. That's why they did try the quarterback room change last year. I think looking at the Eagles model, we may have to bump up our size on offensive line, defensive line. There may be one or two situations on running back. This time last year, we were looking at running backs maybe dipping in value, and then you got Saquon Barkley with the Eagles, vital part of the organization. So running back salaries might have come up in value a little bit since then. So
the Saquon,
all these kind of guys, they could now, they might do better this time this year than they might have been thought of this time last year. But again, it's the inner circle and what goes on inside the room and what's outside the room.
Correct. But then also the Saquon Barkley thing was actually a huge move in that he almost that kind of to me won them the championship. It was fantastic, right? But I like that answer because I feel like that the Art Rooney II is getting a lot of flack at the moment. That there are fans out there saying sell the team and fire Coach Tomlin. But I've always said this: it's super hard to win football games, and there are 12 teams out there have never won a Super Bowl, and there are 4 have never been. And the league's been around now for almost 100 and something years, 100 or 100 and something years or whatever it is, right? So I understand the Steelers' frustration as a fan base. You're like, okay, we should be getting to the next step. But it is super tough. But it's not all on the owner. It's not all on the coaching. And yes, the players gave the rating and feedback, but that's only like it could be 60% or it's not all of them. It's like half. And also, I still think I've been in that locker room, and you might have been in that locker room too in Pittsburgh. It's not just how bad it is. It's a culture around the team. The poor locker room and not having a nice TV doesn't make you Super Bowl champions. It's a team around that, and the Steelers do have that. And to me, they have lost a bit of in that sense of like playing for one another, like the brotherhood of steel. But it doesn't all fall on Rooney. I know the Pittsburgh Yins out there are very frustrated, but you have to come back sometime and go, yeah, we don't control this. We're a fan. I have to go back to, you need to be a supporter. I'm sorry, there are some fans out there that have to pick up their terrible towel and wave it, have a beer, eat some pizza, chill out, and support your team. I think people have forgotten that. They really have forgotten how to be a Pittsburgh Steelers supporter, and more goes into a Pittsburgh Steelers complainer.
Yeah, two things obviously as well we got to factor in is one is that there's now gambling on games and point afters and everything, so people may have lost money. So suddenly their judgment hasn't worked out for whatever reason. The kick is blocked down or the interception has been made or something like that. And the other thing is really, we're still, as I keep saying, on the outside. The inside facts are completely different. So a lot of it is hearsay. So a lot of the guys, I would hope, and the social media has changed that. Social media has been brilliant.
100%.
Because we are now watching games live on DAZN or whatever it is, or it's one of the American, ESPN probably in Australia. And some of those channels have turned over. As I said earlier, there was no TV when I came back from the States. Then Channel 4, I think in 82, 83, had a highlight program a week late. So it's been very slow developing. But now there's Sky Sports NFL in London, and the guys do a great job. Guys and gals with Phoebe Schechter and the guys, they do a fantastic job on Red Zone and all these things coming through. So we're absorbed with all the information. It's a question of processing that. But some people take it personally when, in fact,
correct,
the organization are just trying to win the next game, win the AFC East, win the playoffs, and then hopefully get a Super Bowl. There was a gap between obviously 1980 and 2006 of 26 years, I guess, and then between 2009 another 26 would be 2035. So if anything happens between now and then, I'm happy for it because
but it's even like this.
The draft, that the best team gets maybe the last pick and the worst team gets the top pick. So the NFL is all for equalization. So to make sure that there is a competitive things. Years ago, the Kansas City Chiefs were also rans. Now they're almost 3 in a row. And this
correct.
is what's fantastic about the game is that they try and equalize the game to make it as competitive as possible. So you don't get shutouts and you don't get people ending in at the bottom of the rung. And if they do, the only thing they're looking forward to is picking up a first round draft at the NFL draft to strengthen their season.
The thing is, though, Tom, as well, like I understand that there's a lot of heat going towards Rooney right now, but the fact is, this thing is sometimes a bit bigger than football. You and I are having a conversation. I'm living in Australia, you're living in Dublin, Ireland, and here we are talking about our favorite team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I do think sometimes the fan base out there, and yes, social media has definitely changed it. We're both on social media right now on Steel Nation Oz and Steel Curtain, and the fan base is frustrated, upset. And they want things to happen now. But to me, I just think it goes back to being a supporter. When I go over there to Ireland, I'm going to wear my black and gold stuff. I'm going to wave my terrible towel. I'm going to come have a beer with you and whatever we do and go and cheer our team on to support to win. And this thing is a lot bigger. There's now Steelers fan cruises. There's Heinz Acrisure Stadium tours. There's youth camps, there's flag football. There's so much happening that is directed to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think sometimes people are very short-sighted of like, oh, we didn't win a playoff game, so we suck. To me, there's more than that. There's a lot more of different, like there's different players, coaches. There's people, players doing fan camps or whatnot, or all these things happening. The fact you have an opportunity to announce a pick, I guarantee you probably never thought that was going to happen in your lifetime. Being on the stage in Green Bay and announcing a Steelers draft pick for history. And I think some people, okay, we didn't win a playoff game. You know what? You know my mentality in life is next one. You lose this point, you get the next point. You just keep going forward, you know?
Absolutely. I suppose this year with a 10-3 and then ending up with, where we did, we had a chance, and some writers were even talking about a Super Bowl. Could they, and commentators in the States that actually played the game, like former NFL players were talking, yeah, they could do the Super Bowl. And the next thing, we get a run of bad results. Don't make the second round of the playoffs, and suddenly it's same old Steelers. But I mean, we've been knocking on the door, and sometimes you gotta keep knocking on the door before you get through. And Coach Tomlin has obviously a long winning record, and as I say, from a long distance fan, the core values both on and off the pitch is what matters to someone like me. And bring it on, another season. There's always hope. And you and I are probably diehards, so we're going to be there no matter what happens. Others who've lost a few bob on it, or some players that may have given some of those grades may not be in favor. They might be on their way out. Who knows? And this
is right. Those players could be the ones leaving as well. It's not just the ones like TJ wants to stay. Cam wants to win a ring. If we go and get a quarterback, and I want to give you one last question, Tom, before we get out of it. And I thank you very much for your time. It's been awesome. One last question. Because I think we do have a chance if certain, pieces come together. And also, it's not September yet. But, Tom, who's our quarterback? Who's going to be our quarterback?
Well, it won't be you or I, unfortunately. Again, I think keep coming back to the experts. Last week, Omar Khan at a press conference, he said he's spoken to Russ's people. He's spoken to Justin Fields' people. And obviously, they've the draft, they've a combine, free agency coming up. They're the guys with their finger on the pulse. I got to bow to those guys because they're far more expert than me, 6,000 miles away, or you even maybe 9,000 miles away from Pittsburgh.
I'm pretty far, yeah.
So, I'll bow to those guys. They're the experts, and I'm happy to go with their choice. And whatever, be it number 2, number 3, or a new number, so be it.
I'm happy as well. Like, I would maybe prefer Fields over Wilson if it happens. However, I kind of just want the Steelers to make a choice. And once they do, if they go with Wilson for 2 or 3 years, or Fields for 2 or 3 years, just to have a quarterback for the next 2 years would be nice to say he's our guy. Then maybe you build her on the draft. I don't know, but I'm not too I just want to see the Steelers make a choice and just get someone. So we're not having this 1 year deals in and out kind of style. I think once they do that, I feel like the team, like TJ, Cam, and the Minka, they want to play. They want to play to win. They're not going into the playoffs to lose. It was just tough against the Ravens. We got, bounced out, and too many yards rushing, all those kind of things. But like you said, there's always hope next year or this year. And this year's going to start off great with your, in a few months, what next? Is it next month or something? You're going to go to Green Bay?
It is now, yeah. April, we leave Dublin on Easter Monday, April 21, and we get to Green Bay after a day in Pittsburgh on the 23rd. And then it's 3 days at the NFL draft, finishing on the Saturday evening, and looking forward to it. And next year's, if people can't get to an NFL game, a draft in Pittsburgh would be great.
I'll be there too. I'm definitely going to that one as well.
Absolutely.
There's a lot happening. So you'll be there this year. Look, there's a lot to hope for, and thank you, Tom. There's a lot to hope for because you're going to the draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin. You're going to announce a pick. That's exciting. Then you have the training camp, the June and July and all those kind of things. Then you have the game in Dublin.
Yeah, that will be sometime in the season. It could be week 4 or 5. It could be week 10. But I mean, it won't get too late in the season because of travel plans, logistics of flying people from Pittsburgh, and they might want to get a bye week the following week, allowing for travel time and logistics. So that all has to be factored in by the NFL. So it's going to be a great year ahead. Absolutely super. But look at the international flavor to the game now, where there's a game in Melbourne in 2026, game in Dublin in 2025. The NFL have brought on in their draft. They brought Brett Gosper, former chairman and CEO of World Rugby, who was totally in rugby union, who was expanded the game in a lot of countries. So they picked the right people, and the London office have been over at Dublin. We hosted the European Flag Championships in Limerick, 2 hours from here, in August 2023. So they've been seeing the growth. And obviously not just the Steelers, but the Jags are here, and everybody, all the international cities have a shot at hosting an NFL game, because most of the NFL teams have now been given marketing rights for specific allocations.
Yeah, Australia got the Rams and Philadelphia Eagles. We didn't get the Steelers. But of course, I think, Ireland and Dublin got the Steelers, but we got the Rams house, or LA Rams house, whatever it is, and we got Eagles because Jordan Mailata. Any final thoughts or words, Tom, for the Steelers season coming up, and we'll end with that on this program?
Well, I think we have a lot to look forward to. I think we have a pretty good, as I say, 75-80% of the squad so far. I look forward to hearing the news on the 20%. Obviously, some key positions at QB and other places to be filled. Huge appreciation of the NFL thinking globally, that there are going to be these matches in Dublin and Melbourne and Berlin, and the traditional ones in London and Munich and elsewhere. So, for an NFL fan, there's a t-shirt, the world has been in existence X amount of million of years, and we happen to be alive at the time that there's a game coming to Dublin or Melbourne. So happy days.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom. Steelers 2024 International Fan of the Year. I know you got your jersey. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and also coming on Steel Curtain Network and on my show, G'day Steelers Nation. So thanks, everyone. Make sure you check out and like and subscribe, all those kind of things on Steelers Nation Australia. Tom, I'll probably see you over in Ireland for a pint, I reckon, this year sometime.
Sounds great, but happy to talk to you and your subscribers from Green Bay as well in the interim, okay?
Awesome. Okay, thank you, Tom. Thank you, guys. I'll see you guys all later on.